Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are looking at a really fascinating stack of sources.
Yeah, we've got detailed family case studies, rigorous time audits.
Alternative education frameworks, right?
Exactly. And they all argue something, well, pretty radical about how we actually view our time.
Yeah, because, we tend to look at our daily schedule as kind of like a glass jar. And not just any glass jar, but one that is just completely filled to the brim with these massive, incredibly heavy rocks.
Oh, totally. The giant Ross of adulthood.
Right. You look at your day and you see like the 8-hour work rock, the grueling commute rock, the endless pile of laundry and, household management rock. It is completely maxed out.
It's tapped out.
Yeah. And if you're a parent, when you think about taking on something as monumental as educating your kids at home, it's just totally natural to picture that responsibility as like a giant unmovable boulder.
And you just stare at this already full jar, you're running on empty, and you think there is physically no way to jam a massive boulder in there without shattering the whole thing.
Right. The glass just breaks.
Exactly. The physics of your schedule sweeply do not allow for it. So, most people don't even entertain the idea.
But the notes and strategies we are unpacking today present this fundamental paradigm shift. They argue that teaching your kids at home isn't another giant rock at all.
It really isn't.
It is actually like sand. It's meant to pour seamlessly into the little gaps and, crevices that are already sitting there completely hidden in your impossibly jam-packed day.
It completely reframes the whole problem. Instead of looking for empty space to place a massive boulder, you're just letting sand settle into the margins.
Exactly. And if you are listening to this right now, I know you're exhausted. I know you look at your chaotic, packed days, you feel the weight of all those rocks, and you probably declare that you do not have a single spare minute to breathe, let alone teach.
Which is super fair.
It is. But today, our mission is to completely dismantle the myth of the open schedule. We're going to explore the mechanics of how you can find like 3 to 5 hidden time windows in a schedule that currently feels totally tapped out.
And to understand how to pour this sand, we first have to tackle the elephant in the room.
Which is?
We have to completely destroy our conditioned image of what a school day actually looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Because when most of us think about education, the default image stamped into our brains is a rigid block from like 8 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon.
Right. That massive, uninterrupted wall of time. We are so conditioned to look for that wall. But finding a spare 6 hours is impossible for literally any working adult.
And that conditioning is the exact trap preventing people from ever starting. Parents picture this traditional giant block of time because, well, that's how institutional schooling is designed.
That's for crowd control, right?
Exactly, for crowd control.
Yeah.
So they look at their own Tuesday. They realize they don't have 6 consecutive free hours to just sit at a kitchen table.
Right.
And they assume the whole endeavor is just a non-starter.
Right.
The paradigm shift, we're looking at transitions away from searching for walls of time, and instead we start looking for windows. You might only need 15 minutes here, maybe 20 minutes there, scattered organically across the day.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if we are just squeezing a child's education into the margins of a parent's really busy day, doesn't that make their learning kind of an afterthought?
Well,
Playing devil's advocate here, doesn't this do a massive disservice to the child? It sounds almost accidental, like we're just hoping they absorb a little math between folding loads of laundry.
that is the most common pushback for sure, but it fundamentally misunderstands the psychology of focus
Okay.
and, how the human brain actually retains information. The source material emphasizes that this isn't about deprioritizing the child's education at all. It's about optimizing it.
How so?
Well, the human brain doesn't look at a clock and say, oh, it's 2 p.m., I cannot process mathematics right now.
Right.
A focused block of learning just does not care what time it happens.
So it's less like an 8-hour shift at a factory and more like taking your daily vitamins.
Yes.
Like, my body doesn't care if I take a multivitamin and some protein at 8 in the morning or at 8 at night. It just absorbs the nutrients. The biology of processing it isn't tied to the clock on the wall.
That is a brilliant way to look at it.
Yeah.
The brain treats knowledge the exact same way. The biology of learning isn't tethered to a punch clock.
Interesting.
By fitting these short blocks into natural windows where the parent actually has the mental bandwidth to be fully present, the quality of those 15 minutes just skyrockets.
Yeah.
You're replacing hours of mandatory, distracted desk sitting with a few minutes of hyper-focused, energized connection.
I can see how that optimizes the time, for sure. But, accepting this focus over duration concept is great in theory.
Yeah.
I know someone listening right now is looking at their calendar and thinking, my jar is full of corporate rocks. This will not work for me.
Oh, absolutely.
How does this apply to real demanding adult jobs where you can't just pause to do a science experiment?
All right, so the notes spent a lot of time proving this method is entirely lifestyle agnostic.
Lifestyle agnostic.
Yeah. It revolves around what the framework calls the ultimate scheduling rule. Basically, an adult schedule is incredibly complex and largely inflexible.
True.
While a child has only one flexible job, which is to learn, therefore, you always design the learning around the adult's foundational framework.
Make the kid's schedule fit yours, not the other way around.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at a work-from-home parent. Their time windows do not have to mirror a school day at all. They might find a quick 15-minute block before their first morning Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Then they grab another window during their lunch break while they're literally just eating a sandwich for their kid. And a final block happens after they log off their last call at 5. The sand just pours right into the natural gaps of a corporate workday.
But what if you work entirely outside the home? Say you have like an hour commute each way, and you're not walking back through your front door until 5:30 every night.
For them, the structured learning, the heavy brain food, so to speak, might happen from 6 to 7 in the evening. Or they divide it up, one block at 6:30 in the morning before leaving for the commute, and 2 short blocks after dinner when the house winds down.
Just shifting the windows.
Yeah. And for shift workers, military families, or, farming families, where the weather dictates the whole day.
Which is super unpredictable.
Totally.
Yeah.
The routine stays exactly the same. Only the clock shifts to accommodate the factory shift or the sudden rainstorm.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's look at the absolute most time-strapped scenario imaginable. The single parent.
Right.
If a single parent does just 3 10-minute blocks with their child throughout the entire day, that equals 30 minutes of pure one-on-one instructional time.
It does.
Hmm.
But this raises an important question, though, because when people hear 30 minutes, they panic.
They think it's nothing.
Yeah, they think that sounds completely inadequate for a whole day's worth of education.
It does sound inadequate until you really pull back the curtain on traditional schooling.
Right. You have to compare the mechanics of those 30 minutes to a traditional classroom of 30 kids. The time audits in the source material reveal a pretty startling metric.
What's that?
A student in a standard classroom environment rarely, if ever, gets 30 uninterrupted minutes of direct, personalized, eye-to-eye attention from the teacher in a single day.
Because the teacher is managing a crowd.
Precisely. Most of a classroom day is swallowed up by transitions, behavioral management, waiting for everyone to quiet down, or, waiting for the slowest kids to finish their work so the group can move on.
Right. Taking out their books, putting them away.
Yeah. When you strip away all that crowd control, the actual time spent absorbing new challenging concepts is remarkably small.
That puts it in such stark perspective. 30 minutes of one-on-one time isn't a compromise. It is actually a massive amount of dense, high-quality instruction. But, these perfectly spaced blocks sound very neat and tidy on paper. I'm trying to picture this in a real chaotic house with multiple kids running in different directions, making a mess. What happens when this theory meets reality?
So the notes provide a highly specific case study of a family, Lori, Eric, and their 3 kids, to show exactly what this looks like in the trenches. And, their day is realistically messy.
Okay, good.
But the messiness is the feature that makes the system sustainable.
Okay, let's walk through their morning baseline. Their day starts at 7 a.m. Eric takes the older 2 kids to the gym, while Lori and the youngest, Jackson, do a small workout at home.
Now, you might ask, why start with a workout instead of a math book?
Right, get straight to the work.
Well, the research points directly to the neurology of learning. Getting that physical activity out of the way first thing pumps blood to the brain and increases brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
BDNF.
Yes. It sets a strong neurological baseline that actually chemically primes their brains for focus later in the morning.
So they're building a biological runway. Then at 8:30, they all sit down and read a book called The Daily Stoic together. And if you looked through their kitchen window, it would just look like a family having a casual conversation over a plate of eggs.
Just breakfast.
Yeah. But the notes categorize this as organic learning. Without even opening a textbook, they are actively doing reading comprehension, oral communication, and critical thinking. It is school. It just doesn't look like a classroom.
Which naturally brings us to their structured brain food window, which happens between 10 and noon. And this is where the framework's decentralized pacing really shines.
Decentralized pacing.
Yeah, because they have 3 kids working at fundamentally different cognitive speeds. Kaylee, the oldest, is highly independent. She sits down, powers through, and finishes all her heavy cognitive work in a single hour.
Wow.
Tyler's a much slower processor. He takes his time, gets distracted easily, and needs 2 full hours to get through the exact same amount of material.
And then there is the youngest, Jackson, who is operating on an entirely different wavelength. He might do a 20-minute block, but sometimes he hits an absolute cognitive wall at just 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah. And this is the crucial part of the case study. When he hits that wall at 10 minutes, they just stop.
They don't force it.
No, he isn't forced to sit there and cry over a worksheet for another 50 minutes just because a clock says it's math time. They just stop. But I have to ask, how does a 10-minute break actually help? Aren't they just rewarding him for giving up?
Not at all. The source material dives into cognitive load theory here.
Okay.
When a child hits that frustration wall, their working memory is completely maxed out. Forcing them to stare at a piece of paper doesn't build academic resilience. It just builds resentment and anxiety.
Oh,
Yeah. A quick break literally allows their prefrontal cortex to reset. They clear out the working memory, let the dopamine level stabilize, and come back when the brain is actually capable of absorbing information again.
So what does this all mean for the big picture? Let's look at how their week actually unfolds to really grasp this. Because, life does not happen in perfect daily repetitions.
Rarely.
On Tuesday, Jackson has speech therapy. It completely drains his mental battery. Because the schedule is just sand, his learning seamlessly shifts to later in the afternoon. No guilt, no feeling like they are falling behind.
Right.
On Wednesday, he has vision therapy, and they couple that appointment with a morning Costco run because it's the least busy day.
And we shouldn't dismiss that Costco run as just running errands. For a child, navigating a massive store, comparing prices, and following a list is real-time executive functioning and life skills training.
Then Thursday arrives, and it is their co-op day. Zero structured brain food happens at home. They pool resources with other families for group learning and socializing with peers.
Which is great for socialization.
Definitely. Which brings us to Friday. Friday is game day. They literally just sit around playing board games.
Now, we all know board games teach basic counting and turn-taking. But the notes highlight a much deeper neurological layer here.
What's that?
When a child is navigating the strategy of a complex board game, problem-solving, reading rule sets, and dealing with the inevitable frustration of losing gracefully.
Which is hard for adults.
Oh, it really is. But they are engaging in emotional regulation. That is high-level executive functioning that you rarely get from a standard math worksheet.
That makes a lot of sense. And we cannot forget the real estate factor here. Lori manages rental properties.
This is where the framework proves its durability. On days she has to handle a broken water heater or a tenant issue, she just deals with the property in the morning.
The sand just shifts.
Exactly. She does afternoon learning blocks with Jackson and Tyler when she gets back.
Indestructible scheduling. But I have to imagine there are days where the water heater breaks, the kids are screaming, and the sliding window completely slams shut. Do the sources talk about what happens when this fails?
They do, and the answer is surprisingly forgiving. Yeah. If you try to recreate a rigid, traditional school environment in your living room, where 9 a.m. is always math and 10 a.m. is always science, your schedule is incredibly fragile.
Because one thing goes wrong and it's over.
The moment a kid gets sick or a crisis hits, the entire day shatters and you feel like a total failure. But with the sliding windows approach, if a day completely falls apart, you just skip it.
Just skip.
Yeah. Because you're relying on highly efficient, hyper-focused blocks, missing a day doesn't put you weeks behind. The system just absorbs the chaos.
Wow. Hearing about Costco runs and tenant calls brings up what I think is the ultimate psychological barrier. We all do this with major life changes.
Oh, yeah.
We tell ourselves we will start a new endeavor, whether it's like a diet, a business, or homeschooling, when life finally, quote unquote, calms down.
We tell ourselves a very comforting story about a perfect, peaceful timeline that is always just over the horizon.
And the notes share this wild fact about Lori and Eric. They started this entire system in October of 2020. And at that exact moment, they were completely drowning in the stress of flipping a 10-unit apartment complex and a 5-bedroom house simultaneously.
Utter chaos.
Utter chaos. They didn't wait for the construction to end. They started right in the middle of the drywall dust and the mess.
What's fascinating here is the profound psychological truth we can draw from that anecdote. Adulthood never actually calms down.
It really doesn't.
Adulthood is just a continuous, rolling series of chaotic events. The sources argue that waiting for perfect stability is usually just a fear of failure disguised as a scheduling conflict.
A fear of failure disguised as a scheduling conflict.
Yeah.
Wow. We subconsciously believe that if we wait until conditions are perfect, we cannot fail. But the reality is this system does not require perfect conditions. It only requires your presence.
And this brings up a final, massive barrier that keeps people stuck: the cost. Once parents wrap their heads around the fact that they only need maybe 90 focused minutes built around these short, adaptable blocks, another huge realization hits them. They suddenly understand they do not need to go out and buy massive, expensive, $1,200 boxed curriculums.
But wait, if they aren't buying the giant curriculum, what are they teaching? Doesn't the quality drop if you aren't using the glossy materials?
That is the illusion of the institutional model. Why do parents buy those glossy, expensive kits in the first place?
I mean, to make sure they're doing it right.
Mostly, they do it because they are terrified of filling 6 empty hours at a kitchen table.
Oh.
The source material points out that a massive portion of those expensive curriculums is just busy work. It's designed to keep a child occupied so a teacher can help other students. You are literally paying for filler to occupy an artificial block of time.
You are buying peace of mind to fill up a wall of time you don't even need to be filling.
Exactly. When you shift to 20-minute hyper-focused blocks of one-on-one time, you don't need busy work. You can use library books, free online resources, and real-world problems. The adaptable, focused system itself is the curriculum.
Okay, so the sources have dismantled the scheduling myth, the lifestyle myth, the perfect timing myth, and the cost myth. The question for you, the listener, is how do you empirically prove this will actually work in your own messy life, starting today?
The notes outline a very specific diagnostic tool called the time-proof exercise.
The time-proof exercise?
Yeah, this isn't about building a permanent schedule. It's about proving a point to your own skeptical brain. Step 1, you write down your honest, messy schedule. You explicitly include the wake times, the commute, the time it takes to make dinner.
And yes, you even include the 45 minutes you spend mindlessly doom scrolling on your phone in the bathroom.
We all do it.
When I read that part in the notes, I felt personally attacked. But it's true. If we actually audited our doom scrolling, we'd find hours of hidden time. You have to write down the honest version of your day.
Step 2, you look at that messy, honest list, and you circle every single gap that is 15 minutes or more. It could be while the coffee is brewing, during a toddler's nap time, or that hazy post-dinner period in the living room where everyone's just staring at a screen.
Step 3, you simply count the circles. If you find just 2 of these 15-minute windows, the sources argue that is enough to start. If you find 6, you have way more time than you could ever possibly need.
Totally.
It is exactly like a financial audit. Instead of looking at your bank statement and finding $200 wasted on unused streaming subscriptions, you are auditing your day and discovering hidden wealth in your own time schedule.
Finding hidden wealth in your schedule is the perfect way to phrase it, and that leads to the ultimate action step.
Let's hear it.
If you're listening to this and looking at your own chaotic calendar, the sources suggest a very low-stakes experiment for tomorrow. Don't build a whole curriculum. Don't announce a massive life change. Just pick the single easiest 20-minute window you found and do one block of focused engagement.
And there is a crucial piece of psychological advice here. Stop while it's going well. Leave the kid wanting more. Do not push it to an hour just because you found the time.
That is vital. If you push it until someone gets frustrated, you defeat the purpose and build negative associations. The goal of this experiment is just to prove to yourself that the window exists and that you have the capacity to start. Positive reinforcement builds the habit.
So, wrapping up the core message of this deep dive, you do not need to force a giant boulder into your already exhausted jar. You have always had the space for the sand.
Always.
The time is sitting right there, hidden in the crevices of your day. You just have to look at it as sliding windows instead of rigid walls.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, exploring this entire concept leaves me with a mind-expanding question that pushes way beyond parenting and education.
Oh, let's hear it.
If a child can accomplish a full day's worth of traditional schooling in just a handful of scattered 15 to 20-minute hyper-focused blocks,
Yeah.
what does that say about how we as adults manage our own professional workdays?
Oh, wow.
Right. Are we all just trapped in the illusion of the rigid 8-hour workday? Are we unnecessarily forcing professional boulders into our own jars, burning ourselves out, when we could be achieving our career ambitions using this exact same sand strategy?
That is something for you to mull over and explore on your own. Maybe your career, just like a child's education, needs a little sand instead of those heavy rocks. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.